Hey guys, Dieter Melhorn here. Sorry about the boat wake. It's a rocking back and forth. I'm out anchored down trying to catch a flathead catfish tonight, or a blue catfish. I'm not picky, I just want to catch one. Hope you guys are doing well. Sunday night, sitting in your recliners, getting ready for a hard day and week of work. Thanks for chiming in and joining in and seeing if we catch a catfish. Let me get my camera adjusted there. What's up, Nick? What's up, pal? Welcome to the hood. Get a little light adjustment here. We're getting everything in order. We're not up against cops or live PD tonight, so hopefully my ratings will be a little bit better. Hope you guys are doing up. Catfish Weekly is in the house. Man, look at that. 18 people jump on just like that. 21. Cool. Hey, guys. Everybody's jumping in, seeing what's going on. I'm anchored up on Lake Wiley again. Came out here to try to get a flathead. Came to a place along the bank. It's got some brush and stuff and a steep ledge right next to it. I'm sitting in, as you can tell in the little screenshot you saw, in about 5 feet of water. I'm casting into about 35 off the side and the front. So yeah, it's a perfect location. The one thing I got going against me is what we call backflow and back current, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how many of you guys have to deal with that, but fishing on a reservoir, I'll tell you how it works. When you're on a river system, water flows one way all the time. Never changes. It's called gravity. We have the same thing here, but gravity has a different effect. When you have water released from a dam, especially in a large volume, it, as they say, rising water levels around the dam, they have the sign and all, the water comes up. As that volume of water comes out, that's what makes it flow downstream. So that water comes up as it's coming out and it's pushing down, that increases the current. Well, when they shut that water off, that's going to recede. Everything's going to go back to the same zero as is downstream. So what happens is, when that goes back down, water starts going back upstream. So anyway, that's what we have going on. I'm anchored. That's downstream, and my lines are getting swept that way. There is about half hour to 3/4 of a mile an hour current going upstream, and that's just because they've run water this afternoon, probably for the air conditions and stuff, and shut it off. It'll run like that for another, I don't know, maybe an hour. It depends what time they shut it off. And then it'll stabilize and go back to normal. So it's not the end of the world. It's just a very weird setup where normally you would sit here and, yeah, you probably should wait toward the end. I'll sit here for an hour and a half and fish, and then catch the fish at the end. Normally you're casting lines out the back of the boat. They're going that way. But here, these lines are getting swept upstream. So it's still spreading scent. It's just kind of a little bit of a pain. The wind's coming this way, current's going that way, so I want to anchor with the wind. So it can just kind of be a mess to anchor. It's a different thing to deal with that a lot of people don't have to deal with in other parts of the country, depending on where you're at. So anyway, that's kind of the deal on what's going on. I just got out here. I decided to come out late, filled up the boat with gas and all that kind of stuff, and got out here. If you didn't watch last night, had a cool night on camera. It was not a good bite. I think I only finished with, actually, let me see if I reset the counter. I'll tell you how many fish I finished with. I reset it already. Good luck to reset it as quickly as possible. Nick Grayson is not here. Grayson's friend is spending another night. His parents flew somewhere to go pick up a car that they bought, and they're going to drive it back. So his friend's staying tonight. So he's having fun. They've been riding four-wheelers and stuff all day. So it's just been a country boy kind of day there at the house. So started to bring them, but they got to get up early, and they need to sleep for everything they're doing more than I do. So anyway, but yeah, last night was not a good bite for numbers. I think I finished with 6 or 7 fish. Was drifting, trolling around for a long time, and I want to say it was about an hour and 10 minutes or so. Anyway, the video's up on YouTube. Here on YouTube, you'll see it. I put a icon, changed the icon around so you can see the fish. Ended up with I thought I heard something. It is handy to have Grayson on here just to keep an eye on the rods. Toward the end of it, about 58 minutes in, I tell everybody, if you can't watch the whole video, there's some good fishing information in there, but if you can't watch the whole thing, go ahead to our, I think it's the 58-minute mark, and I start talking about what I'm coming up on and what had happened to me earlier in the day yesterday with a 30-pound flathead and blah, blah, blah. And I'm coming to an area with some mussels, and poof, rod goes over. And actually, Grayson's friend, Matthias, was watching the video, and he said, look, right as you turn your head away, the rod goes over. So if you watch the video, it's kind of cool. He saw this. I look over, I talk about something, and right as I get to here, boom, the rod goes over, and I didn't see it, but you can see it in the video. So yeah, if you go back and look at that, it's pretty cool. But yeah, 51-pound blue cat, great fish. Caught it drifting. I was drifting. 6 rods in the water, nothing fancy, no planer boards or anything like that, just dragging baits. So I was really blessed to get that fish, and just shocked. And what was funny was I told people last night on the Facebook feed that I signed off of here because I had to take pictures of the fish, to use my iPhone to do it. And I had 4 other fish on the other lines. So there were, in all the melee of everything going on, there were fish that were hooked that had, what happens a lot of times with blue cats, when you hook them, they'll come up to the top of the water and just basically swim, and that's what had happened with these fish. When I went to reel in lines to reset, yeah, I had 4 fish on there. So didn't catch much more after that. I may have caught 1 or 2 more fish, so it was overall a slow bite, but it's what I'm hearing from most people who are not targeting like channel catfish, is that the bite's pretty slow, but some good fish are being caught. There was a very large fish, did not get weighed, down on Water Reed, that was caught last night. I'm gonna just throw a number out there, 8-ish, looking at the size of it. It's a big fish. It's you know, he's a grown man holding it, and it's a big fish. So there were some caught. I heard of something being caught somewhere else around. I mean, there's some good fish being caught. So it's not exactly crazy with the bite, but there's numbers, but there's some good fish being caught. What does this say here? There's a question. How do you leave your reel for flatheads? Click with reel unlock or not? Good question, Skip. I do not use clickers, and I'll tell you why. For the most part, I'm using circle hooks. I am trying out some new hooks, but I use circle hooks. So having clickers on defeats the purpose of a circle hook. Hang on, I heard a splash. When you get a splash, it's usually good to look at the rods, and a lot of times it's fish. But yeah, circle hooks, the hook sets from the resistance of the rod or resistance to drag through the water. So clickers don't do you any good. Catfish do not chew on bait like a shark does, to where they'll bite it and spin it and chomp on it and bite pieces off. They inhale baits. So all things being equal, the bait's in the fish's mouth. He's not going to play with it. They don't have hands. It's an old line. You get it? They don't play with it. They don't have hands. Get it? They're eating it. Oh, okay, anyway. So it's in their mouth. So all they're doing is swimming off with it and just pulling line. They're not going to take it in any further just by the way they eat. Fish either bite and chew, or they inhale baits, and catfish inhales a bait. So it's in their mouth. So I want the resistance of the rod to pull that hook to the corner, and bam. What's up, Stan? Stan's one of the guys I went to high school with. Somebody else who has written a book. I think I have 4 or 5 people now I went to high school with of my age generation that have written books. I got to write a book. The only thing I know about is catfish, so God knows there's enough catfish books out there, so who needs another one? But yeah, that's why I don't use clickers. The only time I use clickers, and I probably should right now, is if I'm not paying attention to rods or trying to take a nap. So I don't like night fishing, but I've been doing a lot of it lately. The biggest reason is you guys, to be perfectly honest. It's a good time for people to watch these videos, and usually have some free time in the evening to sit down and watch it, be entertained, watch it while you're doing some other stuff, watching TV, and it's a good time to throw out some questions. And yeah, that's kind of why I'm doing it. Other thing is, obviously, it's summertime, there's boat traffic and everything else. On the weekends, it's really hard to get out here. So, are all your drift rigs dragging, or do you suspend some? I actually do suspend some. I've tried it a bunch lately with no luck, and I brought some tonight. Let me put one up here. That's what I got. It's got a slip knot on it. I've got them varied here. Our thermocline is right around the stuff. Let me go through this. Hold your questions so I don't see them until I say, that way questions don't scroll by. I'll tell you what I found yesterday, and I went over this last night. I went into the South Fork River, and I noticed stuff in the bottom part. If I'm looking at the screen, it's this section right through here, this bottom section. 20 feet and deeper. It was, you tell it on the screen, thermocline, whatever you will call it. I believe it's plankton. I think it's all this thick stuff you see is not a change in water density. I think it's plankton. It's just plankton is around where that water temperature changes. But anyway, I contacted a biologist buddy of mine to make sure I understood this. And I know this is a bunch of science hocus pocus, but it gives you an understanding of what happens. Plankton sinks to the bottom during the day. And I guess when it's in the bottom, further down, it burns oxygen to process food and stay alive and all that kind of stuff. When it's up near the top, I guess photosynthesis takes place or something. Anyway, it's a bunch of technical voodoo hocus pocus, but when that stuff's in the bottom, it burns oxygen. That's what depletes the oxygen down there. So what happened yesterday was I was fishing near there. I had 2 live baits down on some drift rigs dragging the bottom. And I actually hooked a catfish when I came up on the ledge, and I didn't realize it was small catfish, channel catfish. I pulled it back into that deeper water. Long story short, never happens with me. I get to the end of my drift, reel my stuff in. My 2 perch are dead, flared gills, obvious sign that they died from lack of oxygen. And I reel in, and there's a catfish on there. It's a small one. It's dead too. It had got drug into that 20-foot range, and it killed it. So why was I telling you all this? Oh, it was about the suspended baits. I've got these set to stay above the where this mark is. It's around 20 feet right now, 20 to 24 feet. So I've got stuff in the 15-foot range. I've tried it. I've not had any luck with it. My buddy Zach Royce fishes that way and is catching some fish doing it. I probably haven't given it enough of an attempt to say I really don't like it. I probably need to do it more. But yeah, that's just, I've got them, and I do fish them suspended some. 3 ways you can do it. You can put them straight out the back, boom, cast them out. You just need a big bobber to hold up the weight so that the lines aren't slinging. And you can drift that way. You can drift them straight down underneath the boat. And don't you love that right in front of my face? Isn't that annoying? And you can fish them off planer boards a couple of ways. There's actually 4 ways. You can hook the line on and set it off the planer board, or you can actually clip this bobber to the planer board so it stays out behind it. So you got some options there to try. I probably, back in there, need to do more of it because it's an effective way to catch fish. And Zach's proof of that. I know he does a lot of it, and I got some buddies here that do a lot of it. And I just haven't given it probably as much time as I need to. But the good thing with the way I fish and how I fish, I don't really guide. I say I don't really guide because I will take people occasionally, but I don't sell myself as a guide. And I don't really tournament fish, so I don't have to produce in a time frame. I just go fish and have fun and make videos for you people and act stupid. So that's kind of why I probably haven't spent any more time. Let's see what I've been saying here. Somebody said, I come back screen. I've been suspending a lot this summer, but I find I'm trouble with hooking up with fish, slip bars, planer boards, and I get a lot of something me hookups. Yeah, I can see that, and that's kind of one of the things with that I've seen too, to be quite honest, probably boats rocking another boat went by, is that the amount of resistance that you get from it can be tough. It may be better with J hooks. It may be something that you're better off doing with a J hook and rearing back and setting the hook on it. Like I said, I haven't given it enough, put enough effort into it to become an expert on it. So I'm not good at it. I tried a little bit. I do know, hang on, we may have a taker here. I think it's a small channel cat. Bear with me. Get the camera adjusted. Came off. I don't think it was a channel cat. I think it was something else. The downside of this back current is washing the baits back into a wad, which is kind of what happened here. You try to cast into the current, and this is just one of the things that's a pain. This ended up washing this bait back on top of the line, and you end up getting a mess like this. One of the trade-offs. Yeah. Twisty. That line feels good. Put that back out. I may cast it back upstream just to eliminate that. Something was bopping on it though. Put that back in there and wind it tight. Bear with me. Alright. Does anyone notice anything looking back through there? Okay. Does anybody notice anything right there? Alright. There's 4 rods in that picture. You only see 2 of them. You know why? Because they're white. BCF. Big Cat Fever. Great rods. Make them white. See how good white rods show up? Isn't that great? Big Cat Fever rod, Dieter Melhorn edition, Night Stalker. We need them in white. Alright guys, I'm going to keep preaching until I see a white rod from them. There we go. Don't tell me to paint them. Muddy River Catfishing, what's up, pal? How you doing? Shut up, Curtis. I'll catch one when I want to. I'm timing this out right. Keeping viewers. Muddy River's in the house. Imagine that. How you doing there? Hopefully y'all are all subscribed to Muddy River Catfishing. He fishes out in New Mexico, of all places, and catches just big old flathead catfish out there in little bitty ditches. I could not turn my boat around in the places he catches fish in. What type of fish finder do you have? What do you look for to fish? I've got a Lowrance. It's a HDS 10. It's got side scan, structure scan, and all that. You know, honestly, I look for some kind of something besides a bare bottom, and I know that seems kind of, I don't go too crazy about having to find an exact tree and a fish laying behind it, but if there's a lot of fish generally in the area and a lot of bait fish, and I've got some structure, I like to fish. I mean, it's fishable, you know. If you're seeing big arches, great. Now, that's this time of the year because stuff seems to be scattered. Hold that thought there, Muddy River. So now wintertime, it can be different, especially post-frontal and bad weather. Stuff gets real structure oriented, and that's when you need to start looking for fish. You need to start picking them out on your sonar, hanging on ledges and places like that where they're starting to hang. Right now, stuff's scattered, man. It's all over the place. I've just got a place right now we're anchored up. Like I said, I'm sitting in 5 feet of water. I've got 25 feet over here in the river channel I can cast to easily. And there's a little shelf that drops off behind me here where it goes onto a little shelf. And I've just got a good variety, and then I've got super shallow stuff over here. So this just has a variety of stuff right here. So it's you know, if you're coming shallow, whatever, I've just got a bunch of it around. What got me into fishing, Muddy River? Asked me what got me into catfishing, fishing. Well, you know, probably your typical story fishing as a kid. You know, I have the first memories of going fishing. Everybody asks, you know, what's your first memory? One of my first memories is fishing at a place that I'm still able to drive by now. It's got houses in it, but we had one of those Coleman lanterns, and I remember as a little kid, probably 7, 8, leaning over onto the lantern and burning a place out on my hand. It's a great early memory to have. I should be like, just traumatized, but I'm not. Maybe that's why I don't like fishing at night. No. But that was night fishing. We were fishing out there at night. But that's my, you know, I remember that. Then you do it as you get older. Kind of got away from it. But then I started doing a lot of bank fishing. Was in a hunt club near the house that was along the South Fork River. So I had plenty of places and access to fish without a bunch of people around and having to deal with the crowd. So I did the bank fishing, different places. And I remember sitting there one day, I've told this story, and looked out, and I'm sitting there, you know, having a good time like I always did. And I seen a boat go by, and I said, man, same thing I said when I was a kid. I remember sitting with buddies, and I would say, man, one day I'm gonna have a boat. And all of a sudden it hit me. It's like, man, I'm a grown man. I can go buy a boat now. So, yeah, you can ask my wife. Came home, said, let's go look at boats. And like, hang on, we may have the line moving. Like every good husband that decides he's gonna get his first boat with his wife, what do you get? Chime in, everybody chime in. I'm gonna get it. Y'all enter your comments on what boat you go by, okay? When you're married and you get your first boat, everybody type out what it is. I'm not gonna say it yet. So, went and got one, and Wife enjoyed it for, you know, a while, and I was more into the fishing end of it. And ding, 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 Stan's got it, Tony's got it, a pontoon boat. That's exactly right. So it had the patio furniture on it and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, a pontoon is the right answer. So I had the pontoon to begin with, and you know, that was kind of the start, and it went from there. After that, I found, did that for a while until I basically, I ain't gonna say outgrew it, but needed something more, and then it evolved into, I found an old McKee Craft, which is a great boat, and except that the guy who rebuilt it and redid the transom didn't do a real good job on the transom, and the transom had about a 1/4 inch of flex in it. So yeah, so note to self, whenever you buy a used boat, make sure whoever does the transom knows what they're doing. So anyway, I got by with that for a while, and then got into this Carolina skiff about 10 years ago. So yeah, that's kind of my evolution. I do it because I think it's the big fish thing, and I think it all ties back to watching Jaws as a kid when it came out, and the big monster fish, and not being on the coast is as close as I can get to something like that. And so yeah, that's kind of my thing. It's pretty much the biggest beast in these waters. They're fairly abundant. They're relatively, as far as fish go, easy to catch. It's not the hardest fish to catch. It is. It doesn't take the most expensive tackle to catch. You don't have to trick it into, you know, eating a piece of plastic or something like that, and you don't have to cast continuously. Nothing wrong with those ways of fishing. It's just not for me, and it suits my style. And the potential is there from 1 pound to 100, depending on where you're at and what's going on. So when Jaws came out, damn, you're old. Yeah, I was small enough to be terrified. Okay, talking about scared to go back in the water, I was terrified. So I wasn't that age range. I do remember this going to the original Star Wars movie when it came out, and I believe it was at the Webb Theater. For any of you, is it the Webb Theater or Dixie Village? I don't remember which one, but any of you Gaston County people will get that. So yeah, I've still got a couple years left, but yeah, I do remember those. 78. There you go. So yeah, that's kind of what got me into it, and that's why I like it. There's a wide range of fish you can catch, and so that's why I'm into it. Why don't you use bells or some sort of alarm while you're night fishing or live? It's a very good question. It's a very good question. Why don't I? I don't know. I probably should. Generally, it's one more thing for me to keep up with. It would probably be cool if for nothing else, you guys hearing the bells go off. So who knows? I may put some kind of thing. I know Luke from Catfishing Carp, that is on YouTube, he has some kind of bells or lights or something. Lights would be really cool. There's all kinds of things the carp fishermen use at the lakes that trip off alarms and start flashing lights and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I've got enough crap to keep up with between trying to do this and usually trying to shoot with my GoPro for the actual edited stuff. And yeah, I got too much stuff to. I'll just wait till one folds over. I figure I don't have to set. Here's the thing: I don't have to set the hook on it. So it's like yesterday, I knew there was a fish on there when I heard drag start. So that was. I need to save that for a reel somewhere. Yeah, that's why I don't do it. It's a good question though. Depending on where you're fishing, how you're set up, and what kind of hooks and stuff, it's probably not a bad idea. But yeah, that's just another thing for me to have to deal with. See if I missed any questions. Y'all throw them out there now. I got a couple of those answered that people threw out. Rig a mirror on the console so you can see what I need. Here's what I need. One day, here's what we're going to have, Jack. We're going to have, there's going to be a way, and this won't be long, for me to do like dual cameras in here to where there can be another little camera that you can click on. And I'm going to have a wide camera up here that will, like a fisheye, that will have all the, you can see all the rods. And then you guys will be able to tell me. Actually, during the day, it's hard to see all the rods at night because some of them are black. But during the day, you can see them real well, and some of you guys are able to tell me, hey, you got one on that rod, or you got one on that rod. So you can't see these two rods. You can see these two rods. somebody can fix that with a stroke of a pen. I want you guys to do it. Anyway, I'm gonna beat you down. I'm gonna beat you down, Big Cat Fever, into making a white catfish rod for this reason right here. That's a good part of my campaign right there. Right there. So, love you guys. You make a good rod. Just make them white. Anyway, where were we? Let's see if there's that. I don't know. Catfish was already out of high school. Catfish. Lyle says he was already retired when Jaws came out. Ha ha! Giving you a hard time, pal. Hope you're doing well. Everybody that said, thankfully, Eastar said his wife gave him a deep V. Heh. No, that's not happening. But yeah, see if there's any questions down toward the bottom. So, where's your money spot? I'm gonna be honest with you, Kevin. That's a great question. There is no money spot. I've got places where I've caught fish. I say consistently. I've caught good fish repeatedly, and part of the reason is I fish them a lot. And there's no place I can go to and guaranteed to catch fish. It's just I'm not that good. There may be people that can do that, not me. Most of these places that will produce a fish are 1 out of 10 times. So, and sadly, to show you how bad of a fisherman I am, a lot of them I go to because they're easy to anchor up on. And honestly, they're easy to anchor up on because there's deep water nearby and there's usually shallow water, so I like the combination. But yeah, I mean, I tell people on the slate, man, you can catch big fish from dam to dam here. And Southwest, oh, great. Southwest, I'm glad you finally caught one that's really still live. But yeah, I don't really have any magic spots. There's a bunch of places that I've caught good, 20, 30, 40 pound fish, and I'll ride right by them, going to another one to try something different. So yeah, there's no secret spot, man. You'll see me hitting places, repeatedly, but it's just because I got a comfort level of catching them there. So, there's a lot of these times you'll take somebody there to go fishing, you won't catch anything. They're like, you're full of crap, you're lying to me, you didn't really catch fish here. So, somebody asked about drift weights, how much weight to use in drift rigs. Anywhere from 1.5 ounces to 2.5, just depending on how deep I am and how big a baits I'm pulling. Really, the deeper, I'll put on some bigger weights. So, it's kind of my little, just rule of thumb. Do you ever use Procure products such as brine and bite for skip? No, never have. To be honest with you, I'm not even that familiar with it. I seem like I've heard of it, but I'm not really familiar with that, Scott. Don't know anything about it. I know I've heard of people salting baits and all that kind of stuff, and I've heard of people salting baits and stuff like that, but I've never done it. I've tried the garlic powder stuff with chicken. Mac Byram, one of my mentors and a local legend up on Lake Norman, does that. Matter of fact, we even did a competition, a comparison video a few years ago. And the chicken marinated in garlic powder actually produced more fish than what I was using that day. Now, like anything, I don't think one day is a true test as to whether something works, is effective, or anything like that. So I don't know how true it is. But yeah, I mean, I'd be, it'd be one of those things. I love to experiment and try stuff out. It's just like I'm doing with, I've still got numbers on my hand from last night, keeping track of the rattles that I got. I don't know if you guys have seen, you probably have if you watched the video last night, but they're somewhere here. So I thought, yep, there you are. The guys at Hooker's Terminal Tackle, at the door you can read it. It's kind of hard to read with the light. There you go. Anyway, they're rattles. I've been trying these things out. I've got a link in yesterday's video if you want to get some of these and try them. But they go on your line. I use them. So far, they've slightly outperformed the rigs without them. I like to test stuff out just to see how it works. Oh, there goes a rod. That's looks like a small fish. Bear with me. Yeah. Came off the deep side of the boat. He's wrapped up. Okay. Not a monster. Small fish. Let's see if it's a blue or a channel. Small blue. And guess what? Just as we were talking, it came on one of the rattle drigs. There it is, a little small, little fat female. There you go. Okay. Got the little innard sticking out there. Tells me she's probably eating some mussels. Nice little fish. Oh, oh, oh. Relax, 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 relax. So yeah, I was just talking about the rattles. I'm turning the light just a little bit. And this was on a rig. I've got these drift rigs out because even anchored, they do float baits up off the bottom. And it's got the little rattle. Don't know how much of a difference it makes. It does add buoyancy. These rattles float. Unlike the worm rattles, the bass fisherman worm rattles that I use in some of my rigs. Matter of fact, there's not one in there. Yeah, little 6-aught Gamakatsu on this one. And yeah, good to go. Bam. Put it back out. There's your monster of the night. Got him back in the holder. Alright, skunk's out of the boat. That's a good sign. 38 people watching. That's pretty impressive. Back to where I was at there. Guess what that means? You get to hit the clicker. Bam! Just so you know, or people that want to know, people will ask. Fishing, I've upgraded some of my reels to 30-pound mono. Have traditionally been using 20, but I'm doing more with planer boards now. And let me adjust that a little bit. So I went to 20 or 30, just so it's got a little more bite there on the clip on the planer board. I've got all Abu Garcia 6500 reel. I take that back. There may be two 5000s back here, but they're all Abu Garcia 6500 or 5000s. And I've either got big cat fever rods or the ugly stick catfish rods out. And that's kind of the tackle that I'm using. The line I've got is either Andy line or Buoy. The 30-pound that I switched to is Andy. It's the green line. It's hard to find the high-vis yellow, but the green's just as visible and works fine, so I'm using that. And the other 20-pound is Buoy, M-O-M-O-I. It's a big offshore longliner line that they use and stuff. So good lines. The Buoy has probably got more stretch to it than the Andy. The Andy's going to break pretty close to what its rated strength is. So, but they love the line. They're good stuff. So I'm going to do a line test with them. I want to test both of them just to see what the stretch is, just to see how much stretch is in them. I did a line test a little while back when I first started doing live stuff with the slime line and saw how much stretch was in it. And I got a feeling Buoy's probably got some kind of stretch in that. The stretch within amazed me. It broke very high. It was 20-pound line and it broke around 28 pounds, 27, something like that. But the stretch is what was crazy. I'd done a setup test before I started filming with Andy, and the Andy stretched like all lines are, all monos are going to stretch. And so I kind of had my stand and table set, and then the slime line really stretched. It was like 40%. So it's a double-edged sword. It's very forgiving in that it's loading a fish up to that maximum weight on the reel. It's not going to break as easy. It's not brittle, but the stretch also stays there. So that's the bad thing, is that if you load it up with a big fish, I would be stripping the line off and putting new line on, just because once that line gets stretched, the diameter is smaller and it's going to break at a lower point. So anyway, somebody asked something about braid. Am I a fan of braid? Do you prefer blue cats over flathead channel or just big ones? Just big ones, honestly. I like flatheads just because they're kind of different and stuff. But it's hard to beat. Most of our really big blues are, that's kind of what I like. I don't know, flatheads are nice though. They're really a fighting dog. I really like those. Not a braid fan. I basically stole 8 spools from Gander last week before they closed. Oh yeah, Gander going out. But what was I saying? The braid. I used braid a couple of weeks ago. If you saw some of my videos, I had some braid. I put some reels on these BCF rods and was trying out the braid because I had some 50-pound on some 7,000s that I use saltwater fishing, and was trying out to see how the clips bit onto it to see if I liked it, and it's okay. It worked fine, but I went ahead and went to the 30-pound because I'm not a big fan of the braid. There is no stretch to it. It does some weird things too when the boat rocks. Because it's so stiff, when you get boat wake and the boat's rocking, it's jerking the planer boards and stuff, and it's kind of weird. Now, I do use braid, saltwater fishing for sharks and stuff, because just line capacity more than anything. And I also use braid on all of my perch and brim rods, believe it or not, because it's you can put a little heavier line on there. You can put on 15-pound line, and it's like sewing thread. It's so thin, and it's real good on the perch rods because you can really feel bites with it because it's so stiff. So that's when I use the braid and stuff. I'm just not a big fan of it, especially drifting or trolling, because when you get tangled up, you pretty much have to cut it. It's just kind of a pain. But everybody's got your way of fishing. There's something to be said for putting super heavy braid on there and then putting a lighter leader and just breaking the leader if you get hung up. So there's all different ways of doing it. There is no right or wrong way. That's kind of, in my old age, become my answer to a lot of this instead of arguing about it. Somebody asks, what's the best rod? There is no best rod. What's the best hook? There is no best hook. There are a lot of good hooks, and there's some bad ones, and a lot of good rods and some bad ones. So, and there's a lot of combination of factors that come into play on what you're going to buy and what you're going to use and what's best for you and for me. So it kind of varies. I try to give people my take on what I use and the way I do things, and if that works for you, you can apply it to what you're doing, and if not, you can look at what I'm doing and go, that'll never work for me. I can't do that, and that's fine. There is no right or wrong way to do anything. That's why I always tell people when you have fishing seminars and stuff and go to them, listen to what the people say. Go to striper fishing seminars. Go to a crappie fishing seminar. You'll learn something. So you'll learn something that you can use in what you're doing. Somebody just asked, I'm going to try to get back to some questions here. Are you on a river or reservoir? Which do you prefer? Funny you mentioned that. I was thinking about that riding up here. I fish on a reservoir. It's fed by 2 rivers. No major current to them. They're dam controlled. Any of the water that comes in here is dam controlled. The closest I've come to any river fishing has been in Tennessee. I fished some around Lenore City and Watts Bar, Loudon, out in that area. And that's the closest I've come to river fishing. They got, very riverine sections of that, but even there it's not constant current, and it's not like fishing on the Missouri or Mississippi or anything like that. So I can't really say that I'd like that right now, to be perfectly honest. The big river fishing kind of scares the hell out of me because it looks really intimidating, fishing in the kind of currents that they can experience out there. When they have to cancel a catfish tournament because it's too dangerous to be out there because of how much current there is from flooding, that's crazy. So we don't get that around here. We get, if they open up all the gates here, you'll get maybe a 2-mile-an-hour current, and we just it's a totally different way of fishing. So barge traffic, yeah, I wanted to experience the barge bite. I've heard that's very real out there. I fished a 10-foot boat on the Mississippi. You're a braver man than I have. I like the Ripping Lips rods, affordable. I've caught 40 plus with no problems. There you go, Tim. Hey, dude, there's a lot of rods out there that are good. I'm not going to say, I'll put it to you this way. If you look at all the popular rods right now, I don't know of any of them that will not catch a catfish. I really don't. Now granted, if you're fishing out there in 5-6 mile an hour current, probably fishing with a medium light, rod, not the smartest thing in the world. You're gonna have a hard time getting the fish in. But any of the rods out there, that I really don't know of any that you just go, don't buy that rod. It's going to break. You ain't going to catch a fish with it, whatever. So, part of it, find something in, you know, your price range, availability, what you like. Are your shirts available for sale? If you're talking about these shirts, the Catfish, this is not my brand. This is a clothing company, Catfish clothing company, that I'm partnered with for some promotional stuff. Yes, their stuff is for sale. There's a link on, it's not in this video yet. Look at last night's video. There's a link in there to them, and you can order them. My shirts, the Dieter Melhorn Fishing, are going to be for sale, and I'm just figuring out a good avenue to sell them, is what it comes down to. So, yeah, I'm going to sell those things. I gave away a couple in some videos, and I'm just figuring out a way to sell them. A bunch of people are asking about them. I did not create them really to sell and make, you know, I just did it kind of to have one for myself and to give them away. But I'll let you guys know whenever that happens and it gets up. But yeah, if you're looking at these Catfish clothing, cool stuff. They got just regular old t-shirts. I'm wearing their performance stuff, which is really cool in the summer. It's not the most incredibly sexy thing on a fat man like me, but they keep you really cool. They keep the sun off your arms. You don't have to put on the sunscreen and all that stuff and worry about it getting on your bait. So I think they're pretty cool stuff. He's got a bunch of different designs. He's got some cool stuff. It's different. It's something, you know, you can kind of wear out and people are kind of like, what the heck is that? That's kind of cool. This one, I don't even know if he sells this one. Most of his stuff is fairly small in the branding and stuff on it. So, you know, I told him to get me one just that, you know, you could actually see what the logo is. But yeah, check the stuff out. I'll let you know when my stuff's up. So I want one of yours. Keep us posted. I'll do that, man. I'll keep you posted. I just got to get off my butt. I've got so much. Yep, support military veterans with the proceeds. That's correct. And Sheriff Phillips, I'll see what we got to check it sometime. Hit my channel, Southwest Run. I will check your channel out. I invited everybody else who's in the feed tonight to go check it out, see what's up. If you like it, subscribe. I fish a 10-foot bud, ripping left rod, here river reservoir. I'm halfway caught up on all the questions. If I miss somebody, throw one in there. That'd be cool. Yeah, if you got a question, throw it out there. Only one fish so far. Any of you that tuned in late, I'm anchored up on a reservoir in North Carolina on the Catawba River chain. It's called Lake Wiley. Mountain Island and Lake Norman is to the north. Charlotte, North Carolina, is right over there across the river, not far. And downstream, it empties into a couple of lakes, into Lake Wateree, which dumps into Santee Cooper. This is actually the upper reaches of one of the rivers that feed into the Santee Cooper chain of lakes. So, I'm anchored up. I'm sitting in about 5 feet of water. I've got deep water over there where the blue came out of, and shallow here, and some stuff behind me, some trees, a bank, just all kinds of stuff. So it's a Sunday night. Usually I give this a pretty good while, and that's why I did this live feed. Generally there's been boat traffic up and down through here all day long, and usually it takes an hour or so after dark before there's any half decent bite. If you followed me last night on the live feed, it was, I think, close to midnight, maybe 11. I don't know. You guys tell me. It was late. It was late. Probably 11 or so, because I think, anyway, it was an hour and a half after I started fishing before I caught any fish. So I think somebody may have asked something about, somebody said something about the fin. Was there a question about identifying a blue catfish or something? I thought somebody threw something out about that. That's always the topic of conversation, is how do you tell the difference between the two. Somebody had a picture on one of the Facebook forums today of a big fish, around 30 pounds, that was dark in color. The way he was holding it, part of his hand was across the front part of the anal fin. And what's that question? You stick around Sarah ever go up near Mountain Island Dam? Absolutely, Kevin. I fished this lake from dam to dam. Honestly, most of the stuff is halfway close to South Point because it's close to my house, to be perfectly honest. And that's where I put the boat in. So if, you know, depending on what's going on, you know, whatever, yeah, I fished up at the dam. I fished You know, I just fish close on this end of the lake, usually what I call knob, north of Buster Buoy, because of just how close to the proximity to the house. So that's really the only reason. If I lived and was putting it at Ebenezer, I'd probably only fish the lower end of the lake because there's just as big a fish down there. But where was I? I got distracted. You just got a bite on white pole beside light. That one right there? That one? When you only see half of the pole, let me know. That's when I know it's a good fish. Hope it's not boat weight pulling on it. That one. I haven't even looked at these over here. They're still there. Hang on a second. Let me see what's up with this. There's one of these lines going in a different direction from where it was earlier. Let me see here. That's around an anchor rope. Bear with me. Sorry about that. That one got drug into something and twisted. I had to break it off. Anyway, where was I? We'll deal with that one later. I got enough rods out to deal with now. In fact, I may have something to tie up here. Let's see. Where is your house on the lake? Is what it fish. Where is your house on the lake? Is it where the fish are, where the boats are not allowed to go? I'm not sure what that question means. Love South Point, bank fish there for years. There's actually some good fish can be caught from right around that South Point access area. Yeah, where's my PFD? You got me. Busted. I don't have it on. To be honest with you, I rode up here and was going to put it on right before the shot. And I didn't do it. So I'm a bad boy. Let me get this line into a wad here. Stand by. And, where's the heck? It broke off there. Sorry, cleaning up a mess here. Sorry for all the questions. Why I need it down the lake? What do you for rod storage? My rod's getting all twisted. Honestly, I put mine, they sit vertical in the rod holders on here, and then I lay them flat on the deck of the boat for travel when I'm going home. I've got enough on here to keep them vertical and when I'm running up and down the lake. So that's what I do with them. It's kind of a pain. That's the the ugly sticks fit underneath my bimini top when it was up, but the Big Cat Fever rods, they're 6 inches longer and they stick into the top of it. But yeah, that can be a pain in the butt dealing with rod storage. I don't have any place to like put them totally away. Well, let me look at something here. I'm trying to see if this back current's over with. Hang on. It's the official spit test. Sorry, it's the spit test. I spit in the water. All right, there we go. Nugget of information. The back current's over with. What I do is I spit in the water. If it goes that way, I got a back current. If it goes that way, they got water turned on. If I spit in the water there and it doesn't do anything, water's not moving anymore. It's not moving. So generally speaking, all things being equal, I get bit more when the water's either flowing normally or still. So we'll see what happens here. I'm going to retie this rig. Bear with me. Have you seen these things? Rig wrap. I heard about them on Catfish Weekly. They were on there. And I said, that looks pretty cool. I put my gear in bags and everything else. And all that works. And there's a little bit of a tangle issue with it that you can deal with. But all that question about the rods, I want to get to that one. So anyway, I saw these things and I found some at Walmart down at the beach a few months ago. So I picked some up. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. But my complaint was that, and I got on here live and made the complaint that they weren't big enough to hold my drift rigs. Okay? Because of a little thing here. So the actual manufacturer of the rig wrap contacted me and said, hey, I'll tell you a way to fix this. And after he told me, I felt so stupid that I didn't try to do it. He said, all you got to do, the little teeth in there, is break some out, and your rig will fit in there just fine. That's why I'm not a maker of rig wrap, because I'm dumb. But yeah, and he's actually going to get me some of the larger ones. I had said, yep, some larger ones would be cool, so I'm going to try them out. They're pretty cool, though. It's a good way to keep your stuff halfway organized and from getting all tangled. This one has a homemade rattle in it. See that? That is a little rattle I put in them. Hear that? It's a worm rattle. Bass fishermen use them, and they come in glass and metal, or glass and plastics. You can basically replace the peg and a slip cork with those things. They work great for drift rigs. I don't know how you would use them on some of the other stuff, so that's where I think these ones that Hooker's Terminal Tackle makes may be a better option if you're using them on bottom rigs or bottom bouncing or something like that, where you don't have a cork. I just have been making those myself, you know, since eons ago, and it's a good way to add a little noise to it. So, stupid. You ever seen somebody mess up tying a clinch knot? By the way, I didn't throw that in the water. I threw it on the deck of the boat. I got spanked by somebody for, and I honestly don't remember, and I'm not going to say I've never thrown a piece of line in the water, because I have, but somebody, of all the things, they caught me throwing what, normally I throw it to the back of the boat right there, because that's where my trash can is, and it lays on the deck, and I throw it away when I lift the deck up. But it looked like it went in the water last night. I don't remember if I did. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't, because it's very possible I could have. Most of the time I knock it into the floor, knock it back there so I can throw it in the trash can. This stuff I always make sure goes into the trash can. But people catch you doing stuff, man. I'm telling you, you got to be on your toes. It's and that's me. I'm trying to be, you know. I try to remain aware of that. There's a lot of young eyes and young ears watching this stuff, and I try to keep the show pretty clean. Try not to cuss, and keep it pretty friendly so that you can let your kids watch this and not have to worry about it. So that's why you'll never see me with a liquor sponsor or a beer sponsor, no matter how big I get. That was one of the things I was saying. Nothing against that. I love to drink beer. I love craft beer. I like Evan Williams, but I don't know that it's a good thing to be promoted by. So anyway, I'm starting to ramble. I hear something creaking. Bear with me. I'm going to put a sinker on this, cast it back out. Here's a good chance to take a break, go pee, go grab a beer, and I'll be right back. I'm going to cast this out. I am actually, now that we don't have any backflow going on, I'm actually going to reposition some rods closer to some of these trees that are back here. So I'm going to reel in a few of these and reset them, so bear with me, guys. Repositioning some lines. Be right with you. No bait. That's not a good sign. Just so you know, what's happening is when this backflow stopped, it kind of changes the whole game with where these lines at, where they're laying, and they may have gotten twisted, so I'm going to check them just to make sure. One thing I'm noticing is I'm missing some bait. Let me get some bait here. Got a few that died on me. I got some boat wake, sorry. Brim, some white perch. A nice big chunkoid. Look at that thing turn. Nice big one. Deeper. Check another one. This water change could be the game changer. Okay. Just so you know what happened here when this current stopped. Was going that way, the back current. Now it's not doing anything. So I'm just wanting to check these baits, make sure nothing got twisted. Bait's still on there. That one is. And then just basically reposition them. It's a good time to do it now that everything's stopped. This may be what really sparks the bite. These fish have been dealing with current all day. This may be what kind of gets them moving. We'll see. All right, hurry up and get the popcorn out of the microwave. It's almost about time to jaw jacking time. Bait's there's good. I'm putting that one as far. Check one more. Eight rods in the water. Scattered around, fan cast around the boat. Bait's still there. Oh, I'll show you something. I'll show you something you can do. Good little trick here. Talking about me using drift rigs when I anchor. Part of it's laziness. But I'll show you what you can do. This thing's set so that bait will float up off the bottom. What you can do is you want your bait on the bottom. Let's see if it makes a difference. I'm going to slide that cord right up here. Just going to slide it right up next to this so it's laying right up with the weight. That'll lay my bait flat on the bottom. Little trick if you want them on the bottom. Hung that one. Third nest. Should have slung it hard. Yes, it happens to everyone. But sometimes there are times when laying the baits on the bottom is a better way to go. And that just kind of depends on what the fish are feeding on. I think you may get hit more. Let me throw this away. When they're feeding on mussels, that kind of thing, it may be better to have them on the bottom. I don't know. I've caught them either way. Some people like to do it when they're anchored. So yeah, you can do it either way with the drift rigs. So let's see what happens. Like I said, the water's come to a halt here. give everybody an update. Hopefully you're back with your popcorn, went to the bathroom, got you a beer. Here's what's happening. I'm fishing on Lake Wally at top of chain. I'm anchored up. I've been in the same spot since I got here and got on this feed. I might just go hero or zebra and fish this one spot because I think a fish can be caught here if I sit here long enough. I got brim and perch. Got 8 rods in the water. Got some drift rigs. Got some on the bottom. It's kind of split about evenly. We're going to see what happens. Got 1 fish so far. Got a small female blue, and that's it. We had back current for the first part of this. It just ended a little bit ago, so the water's actually flat now. Boat traffic's pretty much gone, so we'll see what happens. It's kind of different here. Everything's settling. What time is it? 10:30. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the next 90 minutes. Heaven help us if I'm on here for another 90 minutes jacking my jaws. But hey, Luke can do that, okay? Luke from Northwoods Angling. It's like he did like a 4-hour one night or something. So anyway, let me see what questions I missed, guys. I'm going to scroll through this. Thanks for bearing with me on that. Funny how you can hear us talk, but it probably feels like you have company. It actually does. It kind of passes the time. Let's move spots. Dirty horses, let's move spots. You sound like my kid. Let's go somewhere else. Find a shallow flat to drift. Are you fluffing your baits like Luke? What do you mean? That's what I saw something on there. What do you mean by that, Lyle? Explain fluffing my baits. That's kind of weird. Anyway. Professional overrun. Handle funny how you can need a bit of bluegill chunks or fillets. Do you need a bit of bluegill chunks or fillets? Generally, I mean, the heads always do good. I usually fillet them just because I think I can get more scent out of them than using like the gut pocket pieces. So yeah, that's usually what I do. I just think filleting off a side gives a big wide area there to release all the natural juices and goodness into the water. I hope he doesn't mean what I think he means. I don't know what he means by fluffing the baits. I can't wait for his answer on that. Hopefully, you still liking your bait tank? I think I'm going to build soon. I'm worried about the eventual smell when I'm lazy. Also, where do you get your aerating rocks? Anyway, bait tank. Yeah, I still got the bait tank. I've had that thing for years now, and usually what I do, my new thing I started doing was, like when I know if I knew I was fishing tomorrow, and I've got some live, which I need to turn on the live well, and I knew I'm fishing tomorrow, I've got a aquarium pump and a stone that I just put in here, and honestly, the stones are nothing but Walmart stones. They're not they make some expensive ones for tanks that have a very fine, it almost looks like a powder. The air is so fine. They're very expensive from what I understand, but apparently they put out some very fine oxygen bubbles into the water. I just use something I buy at Walmart, so might be able to do better with something else, but for what I'm doing it works. I think they stay alive about as long as you're going to stay alive this time of the year. Baits are a little hard to keep alive in the summer because the metabolism's higher and they have to eat, and you can get into the whole feeding thing, and that's just more pain than I need. I'm lucky that I can go catch bait fairly often, so that's what goes on with that. Pulling the weights off the bottom is pulling the weights off the bottom is fluffing. Pulling the weights off the bottom. I don't know if I fluff it or not. I don't know if that's fluffing. Maybe it is. I'll have to ask Luke. Do I ever use shad? Yeah, I do use shad. God's honest truth, most of the time I'm too lazy to throw the net to catch it unless I'm at like Lake Watery where catching bait is fairly easy. Here on Lake Wiley, it's more of an effort to go chase bait down. We've got a lot of thread fin in here. The gizzard shad it's like they're big. It's like you can get some big ones, you just have to throw around a lot. So yeah, part of it's just lazy. It's just easy for me to catch brim and white perch and have those. So that's kind of my thing on it. When I'm at Watery, I throw a 5/8 inch net and catch them down there. It's just they school up and you can catch bait. I don't want to spend an hour and a half catching bait when I go fishing is what it comes down to. That's why I have the big bait tank at home. I like to stock up and have bait ready, so when I hit the water, I'm ready to fish and don't have to worry about catching bait. It's just kind of a convenience thing. I'm lucky and blessed to be able to do that where I live and everything, and being close to a lake. I know a lot of you guys have to, you may have to drive an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to get to a place to catch catfish, and that's just where I'm lucky that I'm able to. I wonder how my life would be different if I didn't live this close to a reservoir where I could catch fish like this. I wonder who knows what direction I would have went in 15, 20 years ago. It's kind of something to think about, that you hate to be too philosophical about it, but catfish may have changed my life direction or something, as crazy as that sounds. But yeah, if I would not fish as much if I was having to drive 2 hours. So who knows what I would be doing. I may be more into woodworking or growing tomatoes or something like that. Who knows? I think it's a blessing that I'm able to be that close to the water. So enough with the philosophical crap. Let's get back to a real hard question here. Why don't you use bite alarms? Somebody asked that earlier about bails and stuff. I honestly, most of the time I can see my rods, so I don't need them. The real reason, honestly, is I use circle hooks, and pretty much once the fish gets hooked, once it loads the rod up, I don't have to set. The rod really does the job. It sets the hook, and once the hook's in there, if it's a good hook set, it's staying in. It's not coming out. Last night, a good point in the video last night. And by the way, thanks guys. There's 38 people in here. That's pretty impressive. I appreciate you tuning in. Last night on the 51 pounder, I caught that fish, got it in here, got the video of it. You guys got to see and all that. There were 4 fish on these other rods by the time I went to reel everything in, after I signed off and was going to get everything in to move to the next spot. So, I guess that's why I don't use alarms. Eventually, I'll look back and see a rod folded over or hear it rip and drag or something. So, for you guys that just joined in, didn't hear this earlier, this was real cool. One of my son's friends was watching the video from last night with the 51 pounder. And if you kind of go up to it right before the hook set, he caught this. I look over at the rod. It was a corner rod over here in one of the monster rod holders. And I turn back around, and right when my head gets to the camera, the rod goes over. And I just missed seeing it go over. So that was pretty cool, I thought. But he caught it, seen it go over, and I guess it was just a little bit late. It's a good fold over. Go watch the video. You can fast forward. I know it's a long video. Just go to, I think it's around the 58-minute mark. 15, somewhere in there, it kind of leads up to it. But the fold over, it went over good. That would have been, and it was good. It was pretty cool. So, but yeah, he caught it and seen it. So that was pretty awesome. Bunch of people joining in. What happened here? 10:30. Did a good show go off or something? That's cool. Thanks for joining in. Any new folks? I'm Dieter Melhorn. If you don't know, I know some people see the name, and I've been told by plenty of PR folks, say your name a bunch. Not everybody knows you. I'm Dieter Melhorn. That's how you say it. It's a German name. I'll give the history on it real quick. It's a German name. Mother's from Germany. Dad's from the Tennessee coal mine mountains, copper mines. It's just as opposite as it could ever be. So that's where I get my hillbilly voice from. So, but anyway, and then I get the name from there. So yeah, it's really confusing. Southern accent, German name. People don't know how to take it. So anyway, that's me. I appreciate all you guys joining in. There's a lot of people here. There's not a lot of fish being caught though. So we have turned this into a school lesson and a lecture on fishing. Did catch one fish, small blue, hoping for a good one. If you just joined in, I had back current. Back current, something you get on reservoirs like this that are fed from a dam. And what happens is the water's released out of the dam. A lot of water raises up the level around the dam, and downstream forces water downstream, creates current. When they shut the dam off, it drops back down. So when that goes down up there, that water starts to flow back into that lowering area. So there you go. That's the way back current works, and it'll do it for a couple of hours, and it's just the way it flows. So that has stopped now. So we'll see what happens. Typical. This lake is outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. It's Lake Wiley, and it's about 13,000 acres, I think is what it is. And It's got blue cats, flathead catfish, channel catfish, and various bullheads. Big fish here in this lake. You can expect to catch 60-pound fish out of here, blue cats. You can expect to catch 50-pound flatheads. So that's kind of the range. And our channel, did I say channel cat? 50-pound flatheads. Channel cats sizes went down. Used to be there were 13, 14, 15, 18-pound channel cats in here. They don't get that big anymore. And that's because of the blue cat population, is what the biologists theorize, is that as that population goes up, the channel cat size goes down. So anyway, yeah, that's what's going on. Not a good bite, not crazy. So do you know the lake record? Around 80 pounds. There was a fish caught by a friend of mine, Jeff Manning, and got a pretty good weight on it. If I remember right, it's right around 80 pounds. Got some pictures of it. And yeah, that's about the biggest one we've seen caught out of here that's actually been put on a scale. I went to the boat ramp and weighed a lot of 70-pound flatheads that were actually about 45 or 50. A lot of people fooled on those. I think we've had some 55-ish range flatheads caught. I have not seen a legitimate 60 weighed. I've caught a couple of 50s, right around 50, 51, somewhere in there. So that's kind of the range on that. Biggest channel cat I've ever caught out here was 13 pounds. So it used to be you could fish a tournament here. Back in the day when I first started, were not that many blues, 5 fish limits back then. It would take 30 or 35 pounds to win a 5-fish tournament on this lake. And that was mostly channel cats, big channel cats. Maybe you'd get a blue in there. 35 pounds now will put you in the lower part of the middle of the field. It's just amazing now with the blue cats, how everything's changed. So getting a bad connection. Hopefully you can still see me. I'm gonna try looking at some questions. It's on the border. Good question, Kevin, about the license. It is on the border. Depending on, you got to be careful on this lake. Depending on where you're at. If you're on the upper end of the lake, you're in North Carolina, you only need North Carolina. If you get toward the lower end around Buster Boyd Bridge, the line runs down the river channel, so you have to know where the actual river channel. It doesn't run down the middle of the lake, it's down the middle of the river channel, so you have to know where that's at through part of that area, and then it makes a turn and it's not there anymore. So the bottom line is there is no reciprocal agreement. So when you get into that gray area there, especially really from the South Fork down, technically it gets real shady through there. So to answer your question, if you're going to fish from the South Fork down, you've got to have both licenses, unless you're really diligent about staying in whichever state you've got a license for. So it's not worth it, and they will write you a ticket for it. They love doing that. So yeah, it will happen. You'll get a ticket for it. So yeah, you do need both. That's something we've tried to change for years and years, and North Carolina has agreements with Tennessee and Virginia. South Carolina has them with Georgia. They don't have them with North Carolina, and that's an old pissing match that goes back decades, and it hasn't changed so far. Part of the reason we probably don't have stripers in this lake too. Let's see what questions there were here. Purpose of the bobber rattle: to aggravate the fish is the bottom line. It's just a little bit of a something to make some noise, give a little bit of a vibration. Really, you know, who knows? It makes the fish think the bait's alive and it's moving, or it needs to eat it before something else does. I think that's kind of what sparks that barge bite, is that those fish get staged up on something, they're getting ready to eat it, and they're kind of maybe not going in. Oh, there comes a barge, I better eat it before he gets scared off. So that's kind of the thinking on it. Who knows if it worked? I'm doing a grand experiment of tracking this stuff, and the only fish we caught tonight was caught on that. So caught on a rattle. The other day I had 9 fish, 5 of the 9 came on rattles. Last night, what did I have? 7 fish, 4 of the 7 came on them. So it's not overwhelming. That's the only thing they'll hit, but so far the numbers are, you know, leaning toward a rattle helps. So now what does that mean later on in the year? Once we get into a really good drift bite, that may all change. It may come back to being equal. So it definitely doesn't hurt. Obviously, if I was not catching any fish on them, then I'd be going, you probably don't need to use them, but they're definitely getting hit. And I'm trying to think, last night's big fish came on a rattle too. So there you go. It doesn't hurt to have them. That's the bottom line. Let's see if I got any questions there. By the way, thanks for everybody joining in. If you like the channel, hit subscribe. You'll stay up to date. You'll get notified if your notifications are turned on. I've been doing more and more of these live deals. It's not so much great action for watching fishing because the fishing I ain't catching much fish, but it's a good chance to answer some questions with people because people have a lot of questions and are learning, and that is awesome. And that's really the only reason I do this channel. I could care less about showing off big fish and all that stuff. Quite honestly, I think watching people catch fish is probably the boringest part of doing these videos. So I mean, people reeling on fish is really kind of boring. It's kind of like shooting a deer. The hunt's the great part. When you actually shoot it, it's kind of like, it's over. So for any of you that hunt, you'll get that. So no, Curtis, we're not fishing tomorrow. I was gonna do it, and that dadgum wife of mine has something for me to do in the morning. So I'll hit you up about Tuesday though. How are the rattles doing? You think they help? Well, they don't hurt. I was just saying that. You might have typed that. There is a delay on this thing, so you might have typed that after I said that. I don't think they hurt anything. For those of you who don't know what everybody's talking about here, and I have to, some of this stuff, just so you guys know that are in for this whole thing or do it a lot, I go over some of this stuff over and over, and that's because people are in and out of this channel. They come in, they watch it for a little bit, hang out, whatever, boom, they flip over to something else. And I can tell by the name here, these different names that come in, that's awesome, there's different people coming in. So I'll go over some of this stuff over and over just to let people know. But when we talk about these rattles, these are some rattles I've been trying out from Hooker's Terminal Tackle. Jingle bells, jingle, jingle all the way. Oh, and I will dance with a catfish at Christmas this year. But these things go onto your line. They rattle. They're different colors. There's just a bunch of them in there. And I'm trying them out. If you guys are interested in trying them, go to yesterday's video, and down in the description section, there's a link to Hooker's Terminal Tackle. You can order you some. They got a little rattle noise to them. These, actually, your line goes through there. There's the camera. See, oh, that's actually a good shot. Line goes through there. These things actually will spin on your line, so I think drifting wise they kind of just roll through there as they come. I think these actually do work better than the rattles that I use, the glass worm rattles that I insert in there. So there you go. Let's see if I can get any questions here. Just wash the dishes, she'll let you go. Actually, let me tell you what happened. They went swimming today, and I was editing a video. And I think usually when my wife goes swimming at her friend's house, they're gone forever. I said, I'll wash the dishes. I came back, or she came back early, and the dishes weren't done. And then I said, I'll get on them a little bit, and she actually ended up washing them, so I feel bad. So I'm going to have to, like, I don't know, I'll have to get her toenails done or something. Anyway, I get skunked every time I head out. I fish with gizzard shad and ate out on Tennessee River. What am I doing wrong? That's a good question. Tennessee River's got some fish in it. I don't know what part you're fishing out there, and I'm no expert on the Tennessee River. And I don't know what you're doing wrong. I don't know if you're bank fishing or what. It's a good question. It's hard to say if you're bank fishing or if you're in a boat. Depending on where you're at, I know Watts Bar has a ton of catfish. It's hard to not catch catfish out there. Especially, gizzard shad's a great bait. Deep ledges, you may need to be going shallow, to be perfectly honest. Catfish are not always deep. I know everybody wants to always fish deep for them and all this stuff, but some of them, I mean, the fish yesterday was in 17 feet of water, 18 feet of water. The flathead that I caught yesterday morning that was in the 30s was in about 12 or 14 feet. Fish are not always deep, and especially on this reservoir right now because of the thermocline. There's actually not any oxygen down there, so I would, if you're bank fishing or wherever you're at, I would try to fish a place to where you can hit multiple depths of water, and that'll help you out greatly figuring out what exactly the fish are doing. Have you noticed a dip in the perch schools this summer? I run them as much as last year. No, I haven't. I thought, and perch are funny for you guys that don't know. We have white perch in this lake, which is a saltwater fish. that's in here, and they breed like crazy and they get in massive schools. Look similar to a white bass, and have kind of the spawning habits of a striper. They school like them, feed like them, make a river run for spawning, all that kind of stuff. And every now and then I'll think, man, we ain't got as many as we used to, and then I come through them yesterday and it's a half mile of them on a flat, and they're thick as can be. So they're still here. They haven't went anywhere. I don't see as many big ones as I used to. I used to see a lot more 1-pounders, you know, some really big ones. I see a lot more of the small ones, and it's kind of getting like Lake Norman is with them. Lake Norman's got a lot of small ones, not so many big ones. I think maybe the big ones are deeper and you just have to fish them different, but they're still here. It's just, as I say, they're easy to catch and they're hard to find. So once you get a place that if you start finding them schooled up, mark it, because generally you can come back to those areas, especially during that time of the year, and find those fish again. They seem to hang around certain areas. There's some areas right up here near where I'm fishing that will generally have them. So yeah, they're still around. They're not going anywhere. It would take a big fungal infection or something in them to get rid of those things. They're just so prolific here. So, dang. I really thought we'd get into a monster here. Let me see if I got any more questions in here. Have you noticed a dip in the purse? I'm a boat. Okay, so you're on a boat out there. So, in Tennessee, yeah, I would drift. When I go to Watts Bar, you're asking about not catching fish out there. I fish Watts Bar. I can, especially pre-spawn. I mean, we killed the fish out there. We were catching 30 and 40 fish a day. Things may need to stabilize a little bit for you, but I guarantee you here for a few weeks, you should be catching fish. I would be drifting, if you know how to drift or troll, drag, whatever you want to call it. That's the best way. When I first went out there, that's what I did. I just went out and started dragging, and that's the way I covered water. So, and that kind of figure out what is going on. Paris Landing, I don't know. Have you ever been to Paris Landing, Tennessee? I've heard of that, but I don't know where it's at. I don't think I know where it's at. I've been to some boat landings out there, and I just know how to get to them. I don't know where they're at. What knot do you use? I actually use the improved clinch knot. I use that to tie all my swivels and that stuff. And Kentucky Lake, no, never fish Kentucky Lake. Do not know anything on that one. Hey, tell Josh I said hey. Tell him I said hey. Yeah, I use the improved clinch knot. I don't use any of the other. I use the Snell knot on my circle hooks. So, do I prefer anchoring or drifting? Good question. It all depends. Don't you hate all depends questions? I hate all depends questions, but I'm going to tell you why. I'm trying to think if I prefer one or the other. I'm going to try to give you a flat answer and then tell you why it depends. Which do I prefer? Gosh. Honestly, in my old age, I've gotten to where I love anchoring because it's so lazy. Once you get the anchors out and got them set, you can just sit here like I've done tonight and jack my jaws for almost an hour and a half. Go to sleep, whatever. It takes very little work to do it. Drifting and trolling used to be my favorite because I think you catch more fish that way. I think that's the way to catch fish. But as you do it more and more and get good at it and get better at it and try to master it, it's a lot of work. It's a constant mental thing between putting out a drift sock, dealing with the wind. It was like last night. I kind of went into some detail. So I tell people last night's video is long, but there's actually some good fishing information there where I was trying to troll that ledge and crabbing the boat through there. It's a lot of work. You notice last night's video, I'm all the time looking, seeing what the motor's doing. It's a lot more work, but I think it produces more fish. I don't know if it produces bigger fish or not. I caught a 51-pounder last night drifting, but I've also caught them anchored too. So there's where the it depends comes in on what you're doing and how you're fishing. It would be very difficult for me to come and drift through what I'm drifting through right now. There's a tree right below me that's in the way. It's just there's a whole lot of crap that it would make it very hard to drift fish this. So there you go. You know, if I've got fish scattered across the flat, you're much better off drifting it than you are trying to. You catch them anchored up, especially if you got some current to bring fish to you with some scent, but you're much better off drifting it. So it depends. As far as which do I like better, anchoring's great. If I can anchor and catch fish all day long, man, I'm happy. That's That's easy because I ain't got to do anything. Which one's better? That's where the depends comes in. There is not one. Each of them are better in certain situations. So, if you anchor, what is the main thing you look for? Water. That's the main thing. Water is the main thing. I have to have water. Just messing with you. Structure. Generally, when I anchor, it's structure. I need something to fish around. There's an old thing. I think old Curtis on here that's on the feed talked about this one time. We were talking about this. If you have a glass aquarium with nothing in it whatsoever, you put a piece of electrical tape, a black piece of electrical tape or a piece of duct tape on it. Those fish will go to that tape. Put it on the outside, they'll go to where that tape's at, because that is the one different thing in that vast water of nothing. And so, point being is that if you're going to anchor somewhere, you're better off anchoring up on some kind of structure, whether that be a tree, whether that be a ledge, a rock, a car, whatever's down there, something that's different. And there's different kinds of structure. There's structure when it comes to the ledges, drops, humps, that kind of stuff. There's actual limbs, old collapsed bridges. There's cars and something like that. There's boats. I've got boats on here that I've marked. There's all kinds of stuff that fish will congregate around. Generally what happens is small fish congregate around them because they got some safety. A little bit bigger fish go to them small fish because they're there because they're going to eat them, and then the bigger fish eat them. So that's kind of what happens. Any of you guys who've done any saltwater fishing, if you go out in the ocean, you can be driving through vast amounts of ocean, and all of a sudden there's a pile of grass or a piece of wood floating. There'll be fish around it, usually dolphin, because the little fish will come in there, and a little bit bigger fish, and then a little bit bigger fish, and so something different is the bottom line. I just look for something different, whether that be a point, a ledge, a hump, something like that. And then if you can find fish, if you can find arches, that helps. It's rare that I do any blind anchoring without having something around. About the only time that's worth gambling on is when you start getting fish that are laid up in the mud, and you've caught some fish and they got mud halfway up on them. That's usually some inactive fish, and it's very hard to see those fish. So that's about the only time I would do something that's just anchor blind. Most of the time, you're better off marking some fish adjacent to the structure. You're in a good place. Whether they're feeding or not, who knows? That's kind of just up to the old fishies. So hopefully that answered your question. I'm going to go into that. I'm going to do, oh God, that's a bow fishing boat, I think. It's a lot of light. I have to get my spotlight. You know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to put my PFD on. Stay right there. Hold that thought. Bam! Good idea to do that. I meant to do it earlier. Somebody reminded me of it and I forgot. Had it on all last night. I was a good boy. There was a lot of boat traffic last night, and I always get nervous with the drunks on the water. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to do a video at some point, and I think I'm going to take some screenshots of my sonar, and if I can turn that thing off right now. I'm going to take some screenshots of my sonar and just show people what to look for on there. Because again, that's something that I take for granted, that when I say a ledge, a point, a hump, that you know what I'm talking about. And not everybody knows what all that stuff is. And that's not putting anybody down or anything else. I didn't know what any of that stuff was at one point. Talking about a channel ledge. I'm thinking, were they talking about that red dirt bank over there where it drops off real steep? That's what somebody may think. And if you don't know and you haven't been, had somebody talk to you about it, you're not going to know, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's why I want to go into more depth, and I'm going to do that in some videos that gets very much down to very basic language about this stuff, so people do know. And it's the best way to educate people. I've said it before. I think that makes for the best fishermen, the ones that are educated and know how to catch fish and can catch them and release them and have confidence in doing so. So yeah, good question though. Great questions. That's why I like doing this, even though I'm not catching fish. Anchor next to the chicken liver dumping site. Now, Now remember, they don't dump livers. The chicken expels their liver into the water. It's a cleansing process that takes place. So anyway, what was that? What do you typically anchor vertically fish, or do you anchor and cast further out from the structure? Usually I'm casting away from the boat. What I like to do is, if I've got a specific something, let me see if I got one, because I'm getting ready to tell you about something that you may not know what it is. So let me show you what one looks like. I just remembered, I always said to put them back here. All right, say I've got a place where I know there's a vertical ledge. I mean, it's pretty steep. Fish are going to be around that. They should be anywhere if I mark some. What I have is one of these. It's a marker buoy. It's got a lead weight on it. It's got a piece of string. You throw it in the water, doop, 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 it unravels, sinks to the bottom, and it marks wherever you threw it out at. Now, it's a great way to mark exactly where something's at. Then what I do is I anchor away from it and cast back to that area. You can, and there's different ways to do it, depends on what you're doing, how you work. You can put it right where you see it, you can put it near it, behind it, whatever. So if you're in a boat, your fishing structure, these are good to have if you're trying to pinpoint something exactly where it's at. But yeah, I generally don't fish straight under the boat when I'm anchored. A couple of reasons. One, it can kind of get into a mess. Fish takes the bait and goes off to that side. You can end up getting hung up in anchor ropes and everything else. I usually anchor with 2 anchors, one out the front, one out the back, to keep the boat tight and keep it from swaying. So generally, if you're casted away from the boat and you're bringing a fish in, dealing with those anchor ropes, you can usually get that head coming to you, where the fish down a little bit and have some control over it by the time you get to the boat, so you're not dealing with as much about getting those fish away from the anchors and onto the anchors and all that stuff. So that's why typically I'm not fishing directly under the boat. The other thing is, I don't know how much sound and noise play a part in catching fish and aggravating them and everything else. I don't think it's that big of a deal unless they're maybe getting ready just to hit your bait, and that may spook them. I don't believe lights play a part in scaring fish. Some people do. Pardon me while I get a sip of my drink. When I used to do more night fishing, I had a light pole that went up on a fiberglass pole. This entire thing was lit up, and caught plenty of fish. So, but I think stuff right underneath the boat, some of the movement, clanking and moving around, may be a little more critical that close to the boat. So anyway, hopefully that tells you something there. If there's any more questions, a lot of people hanging around in the feed. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't. Also, just so you know, I do these occasionally on Dieter Melhorn Fishing on Facebook. So make sure you go over there, hit like on the channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000. I'm close. I'm like at 900 or right around it. And hit follow. That way you'll supposedly get notified. At some point, I don't think these notifications all the time go out to people. But at some point, what I'm thinking about doing is putting together either an email or a text message list. There's a way to do that so that if I know I'm going live at 9, I can text message and go, hey, going live on 9 at YouTube, be sure to check it out. So I may do that at some point. I got enough stuff to figure out now. Somebody said something about Monticello. Why don't you fish at Monticello? I do fish at Monticello. Biggest fish I've ever caught. 61-pound blue came out of Monticello. It's a little ways away from me, and quite honestly, I'm spoiled having a boat ramp for this lake 12 minutes away. I've got a camper down at Lake Wateree, and when I'm down there, I'll usually go over to Monticello and do some fishing. Using that light pole, call, light up everything. Yeah, it would light up a lot more stuff. I need to put it back on the boat, but I need to find one that's an LED is what I need to find. The fluorescent one had finally the tubes had died on it. But yeah, Monticello's a great lake. It's a very tough lake to fish. It's probably the most fickle lake that I know of, as far as just being difficult to dial anything in and get any kind of pattern going. It is one that a lot of these lakes you can kind of get stuff figured out. Hey, they're on flats, they're in deep, they're whatever. That lake you can go there and do something and catch them one day, and then whatever you're doing doesn't work the next. And it's tough, but I think the biggest blue cat in South Carolina is in that lake. So I think the next state record blue cat will come out of that lake. And if anybody starts dropping flatheads in that lake, I think you'll have an 80-some pound flathead come out of that lake in about 10 years. It's for you to don't, the guys that don't know, it's a small lake that was created. It has standing timber in it. It's very small. It was basically to feed water to a nuclear plant outside of Columbia, South Carolina. And it's not big. It's a small lake, but it's really deep. It's got full-grown trees in it, and it's very hard to fish. But it's got some monster blue catfish in it, and they're in there because of those trees. I think there's all kinds of stuff living in there that never sees the light of day. So, and a lot of fish in there. So, yeah, cool reservoir. See if anybody else in there any more questions. Vertical fish, chicken liver, chicken livers. My chicken liver comments with Northwoods are spreading. 50 feet. Yeah, there was a heron over here, Curtis. There's one sitting on one of these trees over here, and I don't think liked me talking real loud, so it yelled at me. Just in a deeper shallow tonight. Hey, Chris, what's up, buddy? I saw your questions just now. I'm both. I'm anchored shallow fishing, all of the above. I've got some stuff in the river channel, and I've got some stuff up deep and shallow and all over. And it's just not working here. I've been here for a while. It's an hour and a half, and I've caught one fish. So probably what I'm going to do to answer your question, Curtis, I'm probably going to wrap this up here. I'm going to go over here, and I may do a drift. I've said I'll fish till midnight. I may try drifting just to see what's going on and try to dial something in, because I may do this again tomorrow, y'all. If you enjoy watching it, I may come out and do it again. But I may try I was kind of swinging for the fence tonight, going for one big one. So that was kind of the plan here. Any tips on targeting bigger fish? Specifically, I'm the Rio Grande in New Mexico and can generally go out and catch 1 to 6 fish from anything bigger than 1 to 3 pounds. Justin, I cannot tell you too much about New Mexico, but Chris Flores is down there. He fishes down there, and you need to definitely tune into his channel and subscribe to him. Muddy River Catfishing. Definitely check him out. He's down in that area and fishes some of those really narrow, muddy rivers that are down there. I don't know anything about that area. I'd watch his videos though, because I think his techniques are more applicable. That's a big word. To where you're at and catching fish there. The big thing is, and it really depends on where you're at. 1 to 6 fish. That's all I caught last night. I caught 6 or 7 fish here, and this is a lake that my average catch on here, I think last year was around 14 fish a day. So it kind of depends on where you're at, and it also depends on the time of year. So don't get too frustrated with the fishing right now, because generally speaking, the summer is not the best time to catch fish for just a lot of different reasons. The heat, the post-spawn, the dealings with plankton, thermoclines, all that kind of stuff. So, Arian asked, do I fish tournaments? Not that much anymore. I fished one a few weeks ago. I need to put a video up from it. It was kind of funny. I used to fish them a lot when I first started out. Like a lot of people, you want to be kind of part of the brotherhood and hang out and learn stuff and all that. And you can do that. It's a good way to meet people. And I am neither. I'm over on the Catawba side, near Paul Creek, if that helps you there, Bob. But, tournaments are good and bad. Depending on the tournament series, you may get help, you may not get help. The initial tournament series that I fished was the worst learning experience for catching fish that there was. Nobody told you anything. It was just not conducive to education and learning. The second series that I fished with, a different group of people that were kind of put out with that first series too, and there was more information shared. Now with the Southeastern Catfish Club, totally different ball game. The game's changed in the past 10 years. What they're doing was a spinoff from the Catawba Catfish Club that Jeff and Marty Green did, and now they're doing the Southeast Catfish Club. Great group of people share information. They're not going to tell you where their spot is and what they're doing that particular on that, but they will share techniques with you and ideas and stuff, and it's just a lot more friendly deal, and it's a lot more learning. So that's kind of was my thing with the tournament. I don't fish them that much anymore because you have to try to catch big fish, and sometimes I just don't. Like tonight, I'm just sitting here enjoying talking to you guys and hanging out and sharing some information and some knowledge, and that's cool, having a good time. When you have a tournament, it's a grind, man. You got to go catch them. Plus, you got to have all your stuff in order. You got to have a live well, and all that stuff. Still like tournaments. I think they're a great way to get people introduced to their sport and give them a desire to fish. And a lot of people, it's a motivation to go learn to fish and catch fish, and just get out and learn and practice and all that. And for me, I'll still do it. I'll still do some occasionally. I hate I'm missing the one coming up because I got to work. It would be fun to go do another one. The last one I did was the first one I've done in a couple years. I actually had to dig all my stuff out. And there was a guy who wanted to fish it I'd never fished with before, and we had a good time. Yeah, I just don't do them anymore. For me, I don't have anything to prove there to myself. So I think, there's more for me to do here, and I'm doing this stuff and all than there is in a tournament. So nothing wrong with them. I think they're great. I think they're exciting. I still remember prepping for them and getting everything ready and all that kind of stuff. It's cool. It's fun, and it's great when you win. It's exciting, and but there's different kinds of fishing. You got your tournament fishing. You got your guys that are just meat hunters, that are guides, and it's just kind of whatever is cool for you and what you're doing. Tournament fishing has definitely changed. It's got in the catfish tournament world. I seen a big change. When I started, it was mostly a bunch of guys in bass boats or john boats and beat up pontoon boats. That was about all you saw, and it was wife beater shirts and usually some beer and a carton of Marlboros, and it was a different crowd. That crowd has changed. You still got those guys, but they're instead of seeing $7,000 boats thrown together now, you're seeing guys rolling up in Lunds and $80,000 Lunds and $50,000 john boats, and the john boats ain't just a john boat anymore. They're pretty high-end stuff. So it's changing. It will continue to change. It's becoming more and more popular. I heard some stuff the other day that catfishing is one of the top 2 or 3. It's not, bass fishing is obviously the biggest, but as far as freshwater goes, it's one of the most pursued species now. So, and with the tournaments, everybody kind of reaches for that bass thing. We want to be a bass, be like bass, have big money and all that. But with that, when you start getting that kind of money involved and those kind of sponsors, it changes the game. And I don't know if that's good. It's good. It's got some good points. It's got some bad points. Just to be careful with it. Be careful what you wish for, I guess, is the best thing, because it's kind of like with trophy deer hunting. Somebody asked something about hunting videos. It's kind of like with deer hunting. If you've ever been in a place that never really had deer, and all of a sudden, over a few years, they get them. Kentucky being a good example. It's great. We got trophy deer now, but along with that means a bunch of people want to come hunt those deer, and they're going to start leasing up your land, and lease prices are going to go up. So it's a trade-off and a balance to all of it. And the same thing with the catfish world. You get too many people and too many high-dollar rollers in it, and you're going to have a fast boat to outrun everybody. Your old 50 ain't going to get you there fast enough when some guys in a $70,000 line, and he's got a 250 on the back of, and he's cruising through down there at 55 miles an hour. So all that stuff changes, makes it tougher. There's good points and bad points to it. Most of the guys in those big high-end tournaments are good guys, so that's a good thing. We've got some good people in those tournaments and pretty good promoters of the sport. So that's a big long diatribe on tournaments, but it's a good question. It's worth answering. So Curtis, good night to you. I'm getting ready to, it's 2 hours past your bedtime, so between you and the professor, I like to know half of what you have forgotten. Well, Bob, it's an ongoing quest for knowledge. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff. It's I'm blessed by God above to be out here and able to fish as much as I do. So that's the great equalizer and all of it, is time on the water. I always say that. So anyway, I appreciate you guys joining in. Make sure you subscribe if you hadn't done so, if you like the channel. And also visit me on Facebook at Dieter Melhorn Fishing. Hit like and follow there, that way, because I do some videos on there too. So anyway, hopefully you learned something out of all this stuff. It's a lot of jaw jacking, I know, but hopefully you learned something out of it. And uh-oh. Guess what? They turned the water on. I got current now. I just looked down and I may not leave. I've got current. They've got the water moving. This could be a game changer. God, do I stay or get off of here? There goes a rod. Unless something hit it. Hang on. Bear with me a second. We may have, may go. I may reposition. I don't know. But yeah, I just looked down and they've actually releasing water, which is odd this late in the night. That's kind of strange. Odd. Anyway, I'm going to sign off for now. I may make a move and try something in a different place, but I appreciate you guys watching. Throw out the thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. I appreciate all that. And hopefully this week we'll get out here again and catch some fish. We'll try drifting the next time. We'll see what happens on that. But yeah, check out Dieter Melhorn Fishing on Facebook also. Hit the like and follow over there. So that way you're in the loop on both sides and can keep up with what's going on. And I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.